In the darkness of Ciudad Juarez, where crime lurks behind every street corner, and stories of violence become an indispensable part of life, the mysterious disappearance of a young girl shakes the whole city. That day, the girl boarded the public bus to go to school like any other day. But at the intersection of Rafael Velarde and Vicente Guerrero, the girl's journey mysteriously stopped. Despite a heavy law enforcement presence, the young girl disappeared without a trace, her family in a constant search for answers and justice. What happened to that young girl? Are there any clues we've missed? Let's find out and discover the truth about this haunting disappearance together. Esmeralda Castillo Rincón was born on 28/01/1995 in Mexico. She was the youngest of the three children of Martha Elisa Rincón and José Luis Castillo, a humble couple from Ciudad Juarez. Esmeralda grew up as an educated, responsible, and very intelligent girl, a lover of chocolate, ice cream, chess, and soccer. She was an excellent student, and due to her good academic performance, she received scholarships from elementary to secondary school. When the teenager was in the second year of secondary school at Technical School 79, everyone considered her a cheerful girl full of dreams. Professionally, she wanted to be a veterinarian, and her parents and siblings knew that with her intelligence and dedication, she could achieve anything. In a more childish and fanciful way, which evidenced the purity of her heart, Esmeralda dreamed of celebrating her upcoming 15th birthday with her friends and family. This celebration is a rite of great importance in Mexico, with roots in pre-Columbian cultures that performed puberty rites to indicate the acceptance of responsibilities in society and the transition to adult life. It later became a symbol of the presentation of young girls to society. José Luis works as a road painter. All day, he painted yellow lines and crosswalks for the city under the hot sun. On May 16, 2009, when he returned home, he felt unwell but said nothing because his wife had to go to work and would return on May 19th. Castillo's family had limited resources. Therefore, no one could take time off from work because every penny earned was very important to the family budget. He didn't want to worry about his wife, Martha, and let her go to work in peace. By Sunday, the father was very sick, so Esmeralda took care of him and helped him with his medications. For this reason, she did not go to school on Monday. José Luis felt better on Tuesday, so he joked with his daughter, telling her to stop being lazy and go to school. The truth was that Esmeralda loved going to school and only missed it when necessary. On the afternoon of Tuesday, May 19, 2009, Esmeralda took a public transport vehicle from her house to the city center. At the intersection of Rafael Velarde and Vicente Guerrero, she had to take another public transport to get to Technical Secondary School 79. It was precisely at that point that the girl trail was lost. She was 14 years old at the time. The city was undergoing a process of militarization after the then President of the Republic, Felipe Calderón Hinojosa, announced what he called the War on Addictive Substance Trafficking. As a result of that announcement, around 1140 elements of the Army, Federal Police, and State Police coordinated under the command of the National Defense Secretariat, SEDENA, to patrol Ciudad Juarez. Even though public security had been in the hands of the military for a year, the girl disappeared, while the hundreds of officers deployed in the center of Ciudad Juarez did not notice the young girl. From the first day of Esmeralda's disappearance, her parents began search efforts as they had received information that their daughter could be a victim of human trafficking. The family was unhappy with the pace of the search for the authorities. They reported that from the moment her father reported their daughter's disappearance, the State Attorney General's Office of Chihuahua was negligent in carrying out efficient search and investigation actions to locate her. Therefore, her relatives began to search for Esmeralda on their own. According to the investigations, the girl was last seen near the center of Ciudad Juarez, getting off the bus around 12:30 p.m. In 2011, a person declared to the prosecutor's office that Esmeralda had been taken to Mexico City, specifically to a place called La Merced, known for its rampant prostitution. The Castillo family asked the Chihuahua authorities to move to Mexico City to investigate and trace this information. However, there has never been any record of any action or diligence carried out. The young girl's parents, desperate, began to organize a work schedule that included reporting Esmeralda's disappearance in national media. They did not want it to remain solely within the scope of Ciudad Juarez because the person who took her could have her anywhere in Mexico. They were very determined to keep the case active. It was imperative for José Luis and Martha to get an answer about their daughter's whereabouts and, above all, not to let her disappearance be forgotten. The family situation became much more difficult as an unexpected medical diagnosis compounded the absence of Esmeralda. José Luis was diagnosed with cancer, but the cruel disease did not stop him from searching. Tired of not getting a response from the Chihuahua authorities, the couple went to Mexico City to look for their daughter despite José Luis's illness. They dedicated themselves to selling hamburgers to finance the trip and the investigation. They sought the support of the public by distributing large bills with their daughter's photograph printed on them to report Esmeralda's disappearance in national media. The parents even held a press conference. José Luis's image and voice were broadcast on several television channels. This created impacts, but not the ones the Castillo family expected. On Thursday, April 5th, ministerial agents went to José Luis's house to ask him to go with them to the state attorney's office because they needed some signatures to continue their investigation into his daughter's disappearance. They told him that his son, Lorenzo, had to go too, and they were both taken to the Attorney General's office. To my surprise, it turned out to be all a trap. On April 6, 2012, José Luis and his son Lorenzo were arrested without a warrant in Ciudad Juarez after being accused of aggravated robbery at a massage parlor. The incident had supposedly occurred on August 28, 2008. The business owner and 4 employees identified both of them as responsible for stealing over 1,000 Mexican pesos in cash, around $450, as well as the removal of cell phones. The woman who made the complaint stated that when she saw the father and son on TV due to the news about Esmeralda's disappearance, she realized that they were the ones who had robbed her business years earlier. Immediately, Martha, the mother and wife of the accused, said that this was a vile lie, since their son Lorenzo had never appeared on television because his parents wanted to protect him from any public exposure. Quickly, family and friends denounced this arrest as government persecution to avoid the protests of José Luis, who complained about the lack of speed in the investigation into his daughter's disappearance. Cesar Duarte, the governor of Chihuahua at that time, declared that their arrest was not due to the persecution of social activists by his government. He also stated that he would not allow criminals to hide behind the facade of social activists to escape justice. On April 10, 2012, a hearing was held before the examining judge to define the legal situation of the father and son. Their lawyer, David Peña, hoped both would be released the next day, as he believed the many irregularities in the case file were evident. Unfortunately, despite having no evidence against them, the father and the son were charged with violent robbery. In January 2013, 8 months after the arrest, following a long trial, and after being unjustly detained in Cerrizo 3 of Ciudad Juarez, they were released. The authorities threatened to delay the trial to keep him imprisoned for more than 2 years. That time spent in prison was time lost in the search for his daughter. He mentioned that this arrest was a diversion by the authorities to avoid demonstrations over Esmeralda's disappearance and the negligence of the institutions that were supposed to find the young girl. Once free, those in the family continued their search for the young girl. José Luis recounted that whenever a president of the republic visited the city, state authorities would summon the relatives of missing women and victims of femicide to the prosecutor's office. The summons was always made under the pretext of reviewing progress in their investigations, but in reality, it was a way to prevent them from protesting because the truth was that there were never any advances. On January 14, 2015, the family Castillo thought the same thing would happen when they were summoned to the prosecutor's office on the day President Enrique Peña Nieto was visiting the city. Therefore, they decided that Martha would go to the prosecutor's office and José Luis would attend the president's event. Indeed, there were no advances at the prosecutor's office. And at the event where the former president of the republic attended to inaugurate public works, riot police closed the surrounding roads to prevent protesters from passing. At that moment, there were students protesting the disappearance of the 43 Ayotzinapa students, as well as relatives of missing women, recounted José Luis and Martha. That day, a group of police officers dragged José Luis and students from the Autonomous University of Ciudad Juárez on the ground. The video of José Luis, along with the famous banner of his daughter being dragged by the police, has gone viral. This image quickly became one of the iconic of Enrique Peña Nieto's first visit to Ciudad Juárez as president. 3 days later, on January 17, 2015, José Luis was notified at his home about an alleged discovery related to his daughter, Esmeralda. Agents from the public ministry told him he had to go to the prosecutor's office to receive a bone of his daughter, the tibia of the left foot, which was found in the Navajo Creek. Despite being told 3 days earlier that there were no advances, on January 17th, as if by magic, they were notified about the existence of a bone found approximately 100 kilometers away from the point of Esmeralda's disappearance. To make things even stranger, it was revealed that the bone had been in the forensic medical service since 2013, meaning it had gone 2 years without being identified. José Luis and Martha were distrustful because the last update on their daughter's case was in 2014, when the authorities closed the investigation file, labeled the case as femicide, and halted the search, which had not been very effective to begin with. They wondered why the bone hadn't been investigated before closing the case file. José Luis, doubting everything he was told, tried to conduct biological tests on the bone they gave him, but they did not allow him to do so. Esmeralda's father recounted that he did not want to bury the bone because he had no proof that it belonged to his daughter, and because he wanted an explanation of the situation's background. Speaking to the media, he said that although the Castillo family had not ruled out the possibility that Esmeralda could be dead, what they wanted was for the authorities to deliver their daughter's body and prove that it was really hers. Without that evidence, the father announced that they would continue searching. He added that they offered him money and also threatened him to stop his claims, but he would not give in because he was faithful to his love for his daughter. In 2016, the family's suffering persisted, but as in all previous years, the Castillo family held the Esmeralda tomb to celebrate the birthday of the missing girl. They stated that the pain could be great, but forgetting hurts more. And that was precisely what they had wanted to avoid in Esmeralda's case, who disappeared on her way to school, full of hopes and dreams. To ensure her case was not forgotten, the Castillo family placed ads offering a reward for information on Esmeralda's whereabouts. However, the years continued to pass, and there was no information about the young girl. On August 7, 2018, the President of Mexico, Andrés Manuel López Obrador, visited Ciudad Juárez to hold the first peace meeting to listen to various sectors of the population and identify different security problems. Several activists and relatives of victims of violence attended this event. José Luis made it to the stage wearing a pink apron with a photo of his daughter. He also had a notebook and a pen in his hand to demand that the governor of the state of Chihuahua, Javier Corral Jurado, sign and commit to addressing his daughter Esmeralda's case. On August 16, 2019, a peaceful protest against gender-based violence and femicide took place in Ciudad Juárez. The "They didn't protect me, they raped me" movement held rallies, pointing out that many families are still waiting for justice for women victims. José Luis bravely spoke up to call on people not to forget his daughter. His call spread widely on social networks and media across the country. This is especially notable because the movement is primarily feminist, and it is rare to see a man participating so actively. José Luis pledges to continue searching for his daughter until his last breath, never ceasing to hope that she is still alive. In 2020, the Castillo family provided the latest information on Esmeralda's possible whereabouts to the prosecutor's office specializing in gender-based crimes, FIEM. they received an email saying Esmeralda had enrolled in a university in Mexico City. However, the prosecutor's office said that the account may have been hacked and this information has no value. On February 28, 2022, after 12.5 years of Esmeralda's disappearance, her family met with the new prosecutor, Diana Esther Morales Rincón, to propose a new investigation plan. This official believes that continuing to classify the case as missing is reasonable because Esmeralda may be dead. The Action Group for Human Rights and Social Justice, the legal representative of the Castillo family, asked the prosecutor's office to compile all information about the historical and criminal context at the time and place of Esmeralda's disappearance. They emphasized that Ciudad Juárez was then under military control, especially in the central area where Esmeralda was last seen. They suspected that no one in the army had seen anything at the time of the young girl's disappearance and requested full support from the FEM. The prosecutor conditioned the investigation's progress on accepting that the victim was dead, contradicting international standards on enforced disappearances. The legal team of Carla Michelle Salas and David Peña objected to this, arguing that there was no logical or legal reason to justify a femicide investigation lacking contextual and forensic information. In the case of a disappearance, the investigation would be carried out individually and without context. As pointed out, Prosecutor Diana responded that they would act according to the law and present the necessary resources. In response, José Luis, the victim's father, demanded that the prosecutor present evidence of his daughter's death and asked her to be more respectful towards the victims. José Luis declared to the media that for years they had been following Esmeralda's case. They emphasized that they did not want to fall into the mistake that had occurred to many mothers who, out of desperation, signed whatever the authorities demanded and spent the rest of their lives filled with doubts about their daughter's true fate. He insisted that families had the right, as indirect victims, to be informed about their cases and should not be conditioned to accessing information based on whether they signed a particular document. Esmeralda's brother, who had taken on a more assertive role in seeking justice for the teenage girl by then, asserted that the new prosecutor's attitude was yet another mockery. At the same time, years passed without information about Esmeralda's whereabouts. Meanwhile, in an interview with the media outlet Fortuna, Prosecutor Diana clarified that they discussed the next steps in the investigation during the meeting. She stated that as an ongoing investigation, she could not disclose details, but assured that Esmeralda's parents were informed about the progress of the investigation as part of their right to truth. She expressed regret that they had interpreted her words in that way. The official assured that the Castillo family knew what was happening in Esmeralda's case and promised that in the prosecutor's office, they would continue searching for her whereabouts because that was their job. Even so, time has passed, and the answers that the Castillo family hoped to receive are still not forthcoming. Her mother, Martha Alicia Rincón, continues to demand justice and refuses to accept that her daughter is dead. Every year, they hold an event to remember their daughter, as they still hold out hope of finding her, alive or dead. She mentioned that on this occasion, she went with her family to the last place where they saw Esmeralda, placing banners with her portrait there. She explained that there is still no evidence that they have found her body or remains. Regarding the prosecutor's request to sign a document accepting Esmeralda's death, the mother ensured that this impunity only perpetuates violence against women and reiterated that they will not rest until they uncover the truth. Dozens of families in Ciudad Juárez are in the same situation as the Castillos, as disappearances of women are constant. At the same time, the response and efficiency of the authorities are minimal or non-existent, as reported year after year by those affected. During the past year, another planned activity by the Castillo family was to visit the city of Chihuahua to protest outside the government palace. During this activity, they requested a meeting with Governor Maria Eugenia Campos, as they had asked months earlier, but had not received a response. They also placed banners at the nail cross in front of the state executive headquarters in Chihuahua. On March 8th, the Women's March commemorating International Women's Day in Mexico City highlighted once again sad and devastating events, disappearances that still haven't received answers from the authorities, such as the case of Esmeralda. In 2023, another year passed since her disappearance. Every year, her father, José Luis, made his presence felt during the mobilization in Mexico City, traveling from Ciudad Juárez. The physical toll of so many years of fighting for answers in his daughter's disappearance was evident. Wrinkles on his skin, hair filled with gray, and slower movements were noticeable during the 2023 march. Pain and love continue to drive him to battle for the daughter taken from him in 2009, holding a snapshot of Esmeralda with the poignant phrase, "Do not forget me." José Luis was one of the main figures in the feminist organization's march. He too, through pink glitter, embraced attendees and spoke with a voice full of sorrow, expressing empathy for families in the same situation as his. Taking advantage of media presence again, he demanded answers from the authorities and called for a prevention strategy. He also appealed to parents with their children by their side, urging them not to hesitate to express their love. Hug them and say, "I love you." He affirmed that life is short, sometimes unfair and painful, as it has been for him. As he held the banner with his daughter's photo on his shoulders, José Luis mentioned that Esmeralda is currently 28 years old, having turned 28 on January 28, 2023. He recalled that since her disappearance, the family and supporting organizations have organized the Esmeralda Run annually. This year was no exception. They distributed cakes and sweets to celebrate Esmeralda's life, which is where she was last seen. It's a street with shops and heavy foot traffic, where inexplicably no one saw anything during these 14 years of absence. José Luis Castillo has been imprisoned, beaten, walked over 300 kilometers to demand answers, and confronted presidents of the republic, governors, and mayors. Although all have in some way promised that Esmeralda's case will be investigated, the long-awaited closure has not come. Even though Esmeralda is absent, the Castillo family continues to sing Las Mañanitas to their young girl on her birthday. Overcoming loss and injustice, the Castillo family became a living symbol of perseverance. They are not only those who fight to clarify the flaws in the system, but also those who dare to stand up and demand change and justice from society. If you face injustice or crisis, don't hesitate to make your voice heard and demand justice. Never give up hope and effort in seeking truth and justice. Life always has challenges, but with patience and strength, you can change something for the better.